for having us here. I'll give you the brief overview of the story. I met Dr. Ahrens about 2.5 years ago. I was privileged to be one of the first people in Canada and in the world, I guess, to try the product in this realm of network marketing. And I handed it out to 30 or 40 of my closest friends, and I didn't know if I was, going to see a lot because I thought I was pretty healthy. But within days, things started happening to me that I didn't even realize, because, you take things for granted with your health, especially if you just have a positive attitude. You just kind of, hide pains and you suffer through them and different things that happen. So I started having way more energy, but a real kind of full balance type of energy, not a hyper kind of, anxiety kind of energy. So I thought, this is really good. I just felt, I didn't even know how to describe it. I just felt joyful and full. And then I started sleeping better. And, then little things started happening, like my skin started to improve and little fine lines and veins started to disappear and moles started to lessen. Now this is going over weeks now. This is going into weeks. And then, old injuries, like I had a lower back kind of problem that creeps up every once in a while, usually once or twice a year. And I have to go to a special chiropractor for that, a NUCA chiropractor. And I just started to try and address it with Emulin. So I would saturate with Emulin when that would happen. I'd take, I call it a handful, but it would be like 6 or 8 a day. And instead of, by the time I made the appointment to go see the chiropractor, the pain was gone. It had gone from like a 10 to a 6 to a 4 to a 0. And then I tore my rotator cuff. And the doctor said it was going to take a year. And there's nothing we could do. And you just have to, deal with it. Well, it was excruciating. I had to hold my arm against my body and could not even move it. So I couldn't, I couldn't dress myself or anything except what I could get on with one hand. And it was just horrible. Well, in 3 months, it was completely gone. I mean, it was just like, how can this even happen? And then a year later, I got a frozen shoulder, and I had a kayaking lesson planned. This was on a Sunday morning. By Thursday night, it was gone, and I went kayaking on Friday. So I'm telling you, this is not a joke. This is serious stuff, because if you know people who have had past injuries, like maybe a head injury from sports or a car accident, or, all the soft tissue damage and that people get in car accidents, it's terrible for them. They have to live with it for the rest of their life. Well, now we're starting to see people over the, several months and then a year and then 2 years. They're like, this thing that I dealt with for 25 years is gone. I mentioned the other day on Facebook a keloid scar that I had. It was there for, over 15 years and didn't have any feeling in that area, and was like slid open from hip to hip when I had that surgery. And it's completely fine. It's like a fine little white line. There's no scar at all. And the feeling's back. Well, that's no little thing. That's a big thing. So all of these things have happened over the past 2.5 years. But what happened that was unpleasant was the company that we were with was greedy and horrible. Kind of like the one Dave Jordan, had his experiences with a couple of times. And, that exists not just in network marketing, but it exists in the corporate world as well. I have lots of friends that were pink slipped, walked out of their office on a Monday morning and were in shock, calling me crying because they'd lost their job. So, there are people out there like this. And, we are just so blessed because we, in a week when that happened to us, one of my business partners and in my business was Dory O'Neill, as you all know. And he had met Dave Jordan about 18 months prior to that, and they'd kept in touch. And he said, I think we could find a home here, Jana. And I'm like, well, I don't know. I'm just so devastated over this. The only thing that I am more devastated about is that we had started on this path introducing people to Emulin, and thousands of people started getting well. And, you know, Ron Boersma's here. He's one of my incredible people that I work with. And I'm sure he'll share some testimony tonight about how his experience with Emulin and the people that he has touched with this product. So we were very passionate about it. And one of the things that we asked Dave Jordan is, would he consider bringing Dr. Ahrens in? And he said, absolutely. He wanted to leave a legacy, and he could see that we were so passionate about it. I know he went on trust. Believe me, he went on trust, because how did he know what this was going to do? And he was so busy already, and Valentis was so successful with the fantastic Optimum coffee, and that's a great introduction. I love that. It's just so easy for people to talk about. But he said yes. And then I found out that Dr. Chi and John Haremza were in the company. So for me, that was a done deal. I love those two guys. I've worked with them, you know, 10 years ago, and they're just the best. So it was an easy transition to say yes. And then we just had to get to work, of course. And we had to wait for Emulin to be available. We had to go through the process, the litigation process, and everything that had to be done. And we were willing to do that. But those of us who have been on Emulin can't be without it. I mean, we do recognize this as an essential vitamin. It is something that all of our bodies need. Those flavonoids or molecules are missing. So that's kind of the little story about how we got here. We moved my whole team over in respecting the genealogy, and bless Dave for doing that and working with us on it, because, you know, it was a really tough thing for them to do, and they were just so gracious. And I know that, and all of you are like our family. You have helped us so much and have been so kind to us and have just embraced us. And I've never seen that ever in over 40 years of being in this industry. I love network marketing, but the downside is there are people that are not very kind and that are not particularly, you know, in that contribution or that gratefulness mode all the time. There's a lot of competition in companies, and I'm just really, really thrilled that we have the most amazing group of people that we could ever have. So it's incredible. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much for being so eager to come and help us. It's what a shame that my camera's not working for some odd reason. I have no idea why. I have thought about walking out and coming back in, but I'm not going to do that. They don't need to see me.
Oh.
So, but I'm just really so excited to have your help, because I think that a lot of us do have questions. And I want to encourage everybody, whatever your questions are, if you want to type them in the comments, that would be really great. And in the meantime, would you like to, I want you to really take control over this Zoom and introduce your team, the ones that are here, their testimonies that they would like to share. But I do have one other question that I want to throw out before I forget it.
Yes.
And that is, when people get on the Emulin, do they generally get on it and stay on it for years? Is that typical?
Forever.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's going to be awesome for all of us for reorders.
Yes, you have to. So here is the first thing. I'm going to give you a little overview about Emulin so you understand. And then if you want, I can also explain the layering of 24/7 and how it works and adds on to Emulin. So Emulin is the basis of what we need in our body to manage inflammation, to manage carbohydrates, sugars, and processed foods. Now, when we start taking Emulin, you'll start seeing that you actually don't have cravings for carbs and sugars and processed foods like you did. In fact, here's an example. Dr. Ahrens, I said to him, oh, my downfall are these potato chips in Canada. They're called Miss Vicky's, and they're lime and black pepper. And when I open the bag, I eat the whole bag. And I'm not joking. I do. My husband will say, you know, you've got to stop eating those. We're going to have dinner. And I'm like, I just go, okay. And then I'm back in there and I'm leaving. So I would eat the whole bag, and I that was terrible. Like that, not a good thing to do. he said, well, you know what? You'll find in a few months that you can eat just a handful. And I went, oh, I'll never believe that, because you have no idea how I love these chips. Well, one day, a few months later, and it did take a few months, I open the bag, take a little handful, I'm eating them, and I'm like, I don't think I really want these anymore. Close up the bag and put it in the cupboard. I literally could not even believe that I was doing this myself. So you're going to start losing cravings, and you've got to listen to your body. So don't just keep eating them. Go, okay, I don't need these anymore. Make sure that you do that, because that's part of the process of going carb less. So in other words, you can eat the slow carbs, the vegetables and fruits that, are good for you. But, when it comes to the things that aren't, you don't want to eat copious amounts of them, because it's not good for you. And then, the Emulin has to work harder. So what it does is Emulin grabs those calories from those fast carbs and sugar that when they hit your tongue, your body recognizes them as poison. So your body wants to grab those calories, throw them into the fat cells to protect you. And what it does is it creates obesity and pain and adds to disease and all the stuff that's happening in your body. So Emulin is a chaperone and a manager for those things. So it takes some of those calories, redirects them to your brain and your muscles that actually need glucose. Your brain lives on glucose, so it needs that. And then the rest is flushed out through your urine. So it's a very incredible process. So do we need Emulin in our body every day? Absolutely. Now, can you imagine this from our standpoint? We are in this business to move product, right, people? We're moving product. Now, imagine that you don't have to really do any work once that person is on the product and starts to feel those benefits, and they stay on this product. And if they get off it, believe me, they start either feeling those pain issues again, getting that swelling again, not feeling so good, not sleeping so good, not having that energy. Believe me, they will be calling you for that Emulin again. So when people get on Emulin, we have thousands of people that are on Emulin that we know. When we left that other company, they were calling us screaming and crying. And I'm not overreacting here. I'm telling you, I was like horrified. I didn't know what to do, because some of these people were, had gotten off their meds, serious meds for blood sugar issues and blood pressure issues and pain and all sorts of things. There's Eileen shaking her head, and I know Ron is too. We were really afraid, and we had to find a solution. So of course, Dr. Ahrens created a private reserve in the meantime for our team, and we were able to get our Emulin there temporarily until, Dave could take Emulin on board. And that's why we launched our first product with Valentis called 24/7. And when 24/7 came to me, because we got it here first, right, Eileen? We're always the test bunnies. We got all the product and we handed it out to all of our people to get started so that we could have some testimonies when we went to Las Vegas. And lo and behold, if it wasn't just fat loss and weight loss, because this is a carb burner. This is a product that starts to normalize your body in other ways. And some people were actually out of their Emulin and just went on the 24/7 and found that it was helping them in way more ways than just the fat loss and the weight loss. They were, Eileen was the one that brought it to me. She said, all the cellulite is gone on the back of my legs. And I said, we were in Las Vegas when she told me this, and I said, well, mine isn't. And she said, well, let me see. And we were in the bathroom getting ready, and I had like a long dress on over my bathing suit, and I lifted up this dress, and she goes, you don't have any. And I went, you're kidding me. She said, no, it's gone. I said, well, I noticed that this hormonal issue that's on my chin and just sort of in this area of my face it started happening when I was 50, and I had great skin until then. Like, why is this happening? I was so disappointed. Was all gone. My skin cleared up. My skin tightened. I had a little mole here on my face. It's completely gone now. And it was getting bigger and bigger. Like, these are things, you know, fine lines, all this stuff layers, because the Emulin is the basis for your good health. These are, you know, this product carries the flavonoids. So the myricetin, the quercetin, and the chlorogenic acid, those combination, that perfect combination of extracts in its perfect formula took 2.5 years to discover. They ran the supercomputers at UCLA and at another university in Sweden for 2.5 years every night for 12 hours. Can you imagine the millions and millions and millions and millions of combinations that computer went through to come out with the perfect combination for Emulin? To get that formula correct, this is not a little thing. That's why it's patented. This is a huge discovery in science and research. This is not a Me Too product. It is not like, oh, well, we have this. No, you don't. When people say that to me, oh, we have something just like Emulin, I went, no, you don't. You do not. I'm really like, oh my goodness. Because they don't. They don't have anything like Emulin. They might have something that does a couple of things, but they do not have something that is going to balance your health from the inside out like Emulin. It is the missing essential vitamin that our body needs. Every single body, as Eileen will tell you. So I'm going to bring now on the call, I'd like to introduce one of my great leaders and a beautiful friend of mine. We've worked together for years, and I just love her because she's so positive, but she also has the knowledge of being an RN, and she works with patients all the time, and she's going to tell you a couple of amazing stories about Emulin. So I'd like you to welcome my beautiful friend Eileen Dirham.
Hi, thank you. Thank you everyone for having me on this call. Hi, Lorena. I don't even know where to start besides being so excited that we have Emulin on board. I've been with the product, taking the product now myself for 2.5 years. And I've actually just had a really tough day, and I'll explain it to you guys a little bit here. But a couple months ago, my son, who's also been on the product and is 22, we ran out of the product during the transition period that we were going through, and he went sideways. And so my son, he's 22, he has autism, and he has had significant behavioral issues his whole life. And when he was in his teen years, I had to have him moved out of my home 4 nights a week because he was threatening to hurt my daughter every single night. And I would block the door so she could study, and he would be at the doorway trying to get in at her. So the behaviors were very, very critical. They were impacting everyone in our house, and the police were involved on a regular basis. We had a care plan with them, so if they had to come and take him to a safe place, then they could do that. So that was probably about 5 or 6 years ago. When he turned 19, 3 years ago, we moved him into a trailer on my parents' property. And at that time, he moved into the trailer. He got to sleep in his bed for the first time in 4 to 5 years, 7 nights a week. He was out of his bed 4 nights a week. And just imagine what that would be like in a different home every single night. But that was what we needed to do to keep him in the Cowichan Valley, to keep him close to us and surrounded by the caregivers that he had. So at the same time, a couple months after he moved into the trailer, we started him on Emulin. And this kid's behavior was so amazing. He was appreciative, he was empathetic, he was loving, he had that in him all the time, but he had these meltdowns, and the meltdowns disappeared. And so I was thinking, is that the Emulin? Maybe, maybe not, but there's so many other things that were taking place. In January this past year, my nephew who works for me didn't realize the white bottle with the C on it was Emulin because the packaging had changed. And so Trainer didn't get the Emulin for 4 days, and we started seeing some behaviors go sideways. We quickly fixed it, got him back on the Emulin, and things had settled. Now jump forward to when we went to Vegas at the end of March. We had run out of the product and we were out of it for a good 2 weeks. And the behaviors my son exhibited were absolutely appalling. He was wanting to hurt his friends. He was wanting to hurt his caregivers. He was belligerent. He wouldn't change his clothing. He was telling everyone where to go. And these are behaviors we hadn't seen for 2.5 years. And so I knew in my heart of hearts that the only thing that changed was we were out of Emulin. So we got him back on the product and things improved. But during that time frame, he had such a significant meltdown that my nephew had to restrain him and hold him down on the bed. And that's what I was dealing with today, because 2.5 months ago, this happened, and now they are looking at our situation and trying to determine whether or not my son is safe to live in the place he's living. So it's been a difficult day, but I'm saying to them, you can come and check it out. My son is thriving with Emulin. He is thriving in the environment he's living in, and there isn't a better setting for him. So it breaks my heart that I'm having to fight this hard again, and I'm so angry. But the bottom line is, this is a product that changes lives. I've seen it change so many lives, and I sit in my desk at work, and I go out and see clients, and my specialty is dementia care. And I go out and see clients in their senior years with comorbidities, with diabetes, with Alzheimer's, with vascular dementia, with arthritis. And every single one of those clients I know would do better on Emulin. In the system I work in, I can't even offer it because it's against my specialty and such. And I can't wait for the day when I'm out of nursing, retired from nursing, and I can actually say to people, this is what you need to try. And I say to everyone, you need to try it for at least 4 months. You need to stay on it. You need to be religious with it. And you will notice a change. At 2.5 years, I still notice changes. There are still things that have changed in my life. And what was really relevant for me with my son is his diet changed. Now, this is a young man who would not have been able to change his diet by thinking, I don't want to eat carbs anymore. I just want salad and meat. There's no way he would have been able to do that. This kid was a carbaholic. He would take 12 granola bars. Actually, one day he ate 17 hot dog wieners when our caregiver didn't show up and he decided he was hungry. He doesn't do that anymore. He wants the salad and he wants the meat. And he'll have a little bit of pasta or some potatoes, but he is not craving those anymore. He wants the good food that's going to make him feel good. And I don't know how many saw my little video clip I did the other day, but I decided to introduce him to the world and say, you know, here's my son. And he can honestly say, Emulin makes him feel better, it makes him sleep better, and it improves his mood by giving a thumbs up. And I myself would not be without this, and my son will never. He'll have mine before if he's running short. This kid will never be without it again. And it has, his doctors are now referring to me about getting people that they know on the product, because it just makes such a huge difference. So that's my story.
That's a pretty incredible story, Eileen, and that's why it needs to be told, because this is an area of health that, you know, so many parents deal with. And every day, in fact, I have 4 testimonies that came in today from people I don't even know. I know there's some questions on here on the chat, and we'll answer those, but they address them right away. People are telling me their pain from fibromyalgia is gone, and in days when they've suffered for years and years. We hear this every day, people, every day. This is not new. This is unbelievable how we can change people's lives and enhance their health so quickly and dramatically and for the long term. So with that, I'd like to invite my dear friend Ron Boersma, who is an expert in the health industry as well, And I'd like him to share a little bit about what he knows about Emulin. Ron.
Hey, Jana, thank you very much. Eileen, always great to hear your testimonies and your knowledge on this product, because it is really a unique product that every human being needs to be on, from womb to tomb, I've heard. So that's so true, and it is the missing link. In fact, my wife Donna and I have been using the product for about 3 years, 2.5 years, I guess now, and she had taken a tumble in the fall. The leaves were on the ground. We were walking, and the sidewalk had a raise in it of about, 1.5 inches, and kind of caught her toe on it, went down, landed on her shoulder. And that shoulder tear, really what it was, didn't go check it out medically, but rotator cuff, and that's a problem. And it bothered her for years and years and years. And literally, we got the Emulin, and when she would wake up in the middle or turn in the bed at night, I could hear her groaning like it was so painful. Well, we got on Emulin, and 4 days later, now before this Emulin came in, she always woke up on her back to take the sheet and lift it off her, just the sheet, not a blanket or anything, a sheet. She could not lift it off without pain. 4 days of Emulin, lifted that sheet off with no pain whatsoever. And the range of motion came back. And I think of my dad so often when I think about Emulin, because when he was probably about the age I am now, 75, he was hit by a bicyclist when he walked off from steps at City Hall, wound up with a frozen shoulder. And, at that age, things don't heal quite well, and especially if you've had a lot of digestive issues, which he did. He had Crohn's disease, and there's so many times I've thought, if we had these products then, oh boy, I could do for my family, my parents, my mother, my dad, so many people. But the range of motion, for me too, I had a rotator cuff injury as well. And within days, that rotator cuff the pain is gone. And about 1.5 years ago, we were out walking again in the fall time of the year, and we're going down a hill, so we're going at a pretty good clip, close to 5 miles per hour. And there was a nut, like a walnut, underneath the leaf, and I stepped on it, twisted my ankle, and went down literally like a sack of potatoes. I thought I broke both wrists. I thought I broke ribs. I hurt my knee, and then I had to walk home 1.5 miles, which was really not a lot of fun. My nose was kind of bleeding a little bit, just a surface wound on it actually. But anyway, the next day, well actually the second day later, we were out walking 4 miles with no pain anywhere. Now it took a little while for my wrists to get better, and just the movement, I would say maybe about a week. But it was so severe, I honestly thought they were broken. And I don't think they were, but boy, it was so painful. It was unbelievable. But what Emulin has done in the body, Jana talks about the skin too. Donna's skin, she'll be 75 in August. And if you saw a close-up of that girl's face, she does not look 75 years of age. I'm told that I don't look my age either. The skin, the tone, the texture, all over the body. It's just truly, truly an amazing product. But what it does in the body, and what's hard for a lot of people to get, because in our culture today, we're bombarded. Since I was a kid, there's been television. Television is all about commercials, selling pharmaceuticals. So we've been brainwashed to think that we need a medication to treat a symptom, and we don't really know what the cause of that symptom is. So, if it's a pain, we take an aspirin or a Tylenol. But, my question, I'm that little 4-year-old boy, I want to say, well, why do we have that pain? Well, I fell and hurt my, so okay, maybe then it's a time where that may be necessary to take a Tylenol or an aspirin. But that really didn't fix the problem. That just caused the pain to disappear while the body did what it's designed to do, and that's naturally heal itself. I drive kids for an after-school daycare program, and we get into these discussions a little bit because they're really inquisitive. They're like kindergarten through 6th grade. And I said, okay, I've cut my fingers often as a kid. Do you see any scars? Is it still bleeding? No. Now, my question to them is, and it's kind of in a way that they'll get it, but did that Band-Aid actually heal that wound? No, I guess not. Well, then what did? Well, I guess my body did, right? And they'll kind of get it. So I try to use those illustrations, or I had a lady in my office one day, and she had an 11-year-old who was dealing with ADHD, and we were trying to get around to diet, and kids at that age don't want to change their diet a whole lot. But I said, you're drinking a lot of soda pop, you're eating ice cream and all that kind of stuff, and it's really not doing your body a lot of good. So let me ask you a question. I see that car that you got out there in the parking lot that you came in with your mom. Now, that takes specific kind of fuel, right? And I said, like gasoline? He said, yeah, gasoline. I said, well, why don't you just put water in that gas tank? That ought to work. It's a liquid. And the mother kind of goes like, don't give that kid any ideas, He's already dealing with challenges. Well, and the kid says, well, that would be dumb. It's not designed for that. I said, oh, exactly right. So what's our bodies designed for? Coca-Cola? All these other products that you're putting in your body that you're feeling agitated and you can't settle down, your mind is wandering all over the place. So why do we need Emulin? Because Emulin is a nutrient that the body is lacking, and when we get it in, the body will do what it's created to do, and that's create, my favorite word, homeostasis, or balance. And when I was studying and taking my courses in nutrition, the doctor, Robert Preston, a dear friend, gone for about 10 years now, but he would stop in the middle of a sentence and he'd say, now class, what's the word? And we would all in unison say, balance, Dr. Preston, balance. And that got drilled into my brain so much that when I look at any product, nutritional product, or if I look at a medication that people are taking, are they going to balance our bodies? That's the key. And if they're not, then they're going to do harm. In fact, you can do a lot of harm even with a lot of natural things if you're taking it to treat a symptom. You can go to the health food store and, people get a book out, and I started out that way. I would look in the book and say, oh, I've got this condition, I better take this. It's natural. It's not a drug. A good example, and I've told this story before, and some of you probably have heard it, and I'll tell it again because it's really a good one. I was on a radio talk show, and the lady called in and she says, well, what do you do for hemorrhoids? I said, ma'am, you're really asking me the wrong question, because the question needs to be, why do you have hemorrhoids? So I said, well, the reason you probably have hemorrhoids is because you're eating a lot of carbs, and you're probably consuming a lot of sugar and maybe a lot of dairy product. And if you've ever worked with paper mache, you're creating something that's kind of liquidy when it goes in, but then if there's not enough water in the body, that gets hard like a cast. And that's going to cause the colon to be all plugged up. And then to get that waste out, which needs to go out regularly, you need to push and push and push, and you're going to break a vein and you've got a hemorrhoid. So I said, the question is, no, why do you have it? She says, but what do you take? It's so hard for people to get that concept through in our minds. But once we can find those little ways, whether it's like the kid with the Band-Aid or the gasoline and the water in the fuel tank, or, putting the right raw material in is the key. And boy, with Volantis, we've got some right raw materials. Emulin, powerful, powerful, powerful. In fact, I've been working on creating a t-shirt to get some interest peaked in this product, and I've got a little sneak peek, and I don't know if you're going to be able to see it or not. Is it anywhere clear?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it's awesome.
Fantastic.
So what it says on the top, ask me about the discovery of a lifetime. And then it's Prevail, or a Volantis Prevail, and then Emulin, the sugar chaperone, and below it, the missing link. So it's going to grab, hopefully, some people's attention when I'm at the farmer's market. Because if people have eyes to see, they're going to look at an older couple with white hair that looks in pretty decent shape for the age. So hopefully somebody will say, well, what's Emulin? And that's going to grow my business. And I've got one for the Slim Rose Optimum as well, and I'm working on others as well. But I love design work. But yeah, it's truly amazing. And 24/7, I know we're not talking about it on this call, but boy, you put those two together, I am sleeping like a baby. When you're 70, nearly 76, and you're a man with a prostate gland that is swollen to some degree, and you don't get up at all anymore at night since the 24/7 came in, and I go from 11:30 to 7 in the morning without a problem, and wake up really refreshed in the morning, feeling great. Boy, we've got a couple of products here that are just powerful.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ron.
You're welcome.
Appreciate your input all the time. All right. So Diana, where would you like us to go from here?
Where I would like to go, I want to ask Sonia, Sonia, I don't know if you're uncomfortable, if you would be comfortable just unmuting yourself and asking her your questions, or do you want us to read them? I would really like it if you had a conversation. And the reason is, Sonia, go ahead and just unmute yourself if you're willing to do that. She has a very severely ill adult son who is actually in the hospital right now. He's got diabetes. He's got neuropathy. He is in huge pain. He's like crying in the hospital. He hurts so much. He has been sick for all the time that I have known her, like acutely, horribly sick. And she's just wondering, will the Emulin help? How do you know how much to take?
Yes.
And when is the best time to take it? I don't know if you've been looking at the questions that have been.
I'm looking at them here, and
She's coming up as Raven's hair.
yes, and she doesn't have a microphone, so
Okay.
I'm going to answer them. So first of all, I think there was one about fibromyalgia, and I don't know if that was hers or if it was someone else's. Yes, it is. Okay, so it definitely addresses fibromyalgia. I just have a testimony that came in today, and let me just read what she said. Oh God, so many, it's crazy. It's just unbelievable how every day they're coming in, but there was one about fibromyalgia here.
Hi, Jana.
Yes.
It's Eileen here. I think what we all have to remember is any form of inflammation in your body, except for, well, even acute inflammation, it will help you with.
Oh yeah.
So the key thing to remember is don't get stuck on the disease process that's happening. We need to take a step back. What we're looking at is Emulin will help with inflammation. It will help with carb management. And so the answer for Sonia is yes. Most likely your son will get some relief, if not a lot of relief, from taking Emulin. I've seen people that have been absolutely crippled with arthritis and have improved on Emulin. I've seen people that have had really high blood sugars improve on Emulin. I've seen people, well, including myself, I used to get out of bed like an old lady. I couldn't walk in the morning. It would take about half an hour. I'd have to have my shower, and I don't have any of that anymore. There's none of that aches and pains that you generally get, that it's gone. Now I'll have the occasional ache and pain, but when that happens, I pop up my Emulin and I take 4. Even acne will respond to Emulin. My son, he has had a horrible case of acne in his face for years. He's got all the pock marks from it, but with being on Emulin at 4 a day, it comes out in the skin as well as the urine, and so it improves his skin, and so he's got better healing that's happening, and as long as we keep his hands away, because as soon as he starts picking, things can get quite red and angry again, but he heals faster. Dr. Aarons has put up pictures of burns that within 4 days heal, and there's no scar that's left following. So it's very, and you're healing from the inside out. So people are going to want to see a response in a week. I had someone post something this week about not seeing a response, and I'm like, how long have you been on it? And it was 4 days. Mm-hmm. Don't expect it in 4 days. If you see it in 4 days, that's wonderful. expect it in 4 months, because that's what you need to be on it. You need to be on this product for at least 4 months to see what it's doing. And I'll tell you, it was 4, 6, 8, 12 months. I was still getting benefits. My brother, who was on it, was complaining about having dandruff. And so he was taking it, and he said he couldn't believe that it got rid of his dandruff. And my son, who had an injury on his head and had significant flaking that happened in that area, I thought, well, that's interesting. I should take a look. And that was about at 4 months. I took off his hat. There was no dandruff, and there has not been dandruff since. And he had that for about 7 years, where that area, that scar tissue would constantly flake. So psoriasis, eczema, I had cracking on my heel. That's gone. I had cracking on my heel from the time I was 18 from an old injury, and that is gone off my heel now. And you just don't know. You don't know what it's going to impact, but if it's got inflammation behind it, you can be almost guaranteed you're going to have improvement.
Thank you, Eileen. That's exactly right. So really, that is the basis of every question. Doesn't matter what question is asked, the root cause of almost every single thing that we suffer from and obesity is inflammation. So when you consider that, it addresses everything in the body. That is the root cause, and Emulin is going to start reversing that inflammation. So the pain or the suffering or the disease or whatever it is starts to lessen and lessen and lessen as your body gets better and better able to heal itself. So, you know, I think now we recognize that Hippocrates was right when 2,400 years ago he said, let medicine be thy food and food be thy medicine. Because this is exactly what we're doing now. We're introducing the food back into our body that is missing, and now we're starting to heal. This is remarkable beyond, and it's bringing so much relief to people. Now, I know there's a question on the chat about availability. It's available to reps only right now, and you can order one only at a time. So you can order it today, and you can order it tomorrow, and the next day, and the next day, and the next day. The reason it's only one unit is Dave wants everyone to have a chance to be able to get some. But I have lots of people that have ordered 3-4 days in a row to make sure that they could have enough bottles on hand for the interim. The product will be arriving very, very soon in the next few short weeks. It'll be in the warehouse. The M will be available. And then after that, the C will come in again, because right now we only have a limited offering of the C. And that was because Dave Jordan bought everything that Dr. Ahrens had left.
And the C helps with the diabetes or sugar balance, correct? I didn't try not to use the word diabetes.
Yeah, the C is for anyone with high blood pressure and sugar issues, high blood sugar as well. Okay. So that would be the C, but everyone can take the C. It's just that the M was introduced to allow people to lose more weight because it pulls more glucose out of the fat cells. And so we don't want that happening to people with blood sugar issues.
What if they have low blood pressure?
It'll be fine. They'll be fine.
Okay.
It won't cause low blood pressure.
And when somebody is chronically ill, as her son is,
yes.
How much could he take? Like, let's say she had it today. How much could she give him?
He should, I mean, if he can tolerate it, he's fine, because I don't find that there's a real transition with Emulin. Like with other things, I find that people can take a saturated dose right away. And I'm not sure exactly why they can, but it seems to happen quite easily for most people. So he would probably need at least 6 a day. If he has neuropathy, my husband had neuropathy from the knee down. He couldn't, his legs were almost black from the veins because he drove long haul trucking for his whole life, owned trucking companies, drove. I mean, he was always in a truck for 47 years. He had complete neuropathy. He could not feel his feet. He could not walk in bare feet. He could not wiggle his toes. He could not feel them, period. His legs were ice cold from the knee down. They're perfectly fine now. The color's all back. They're not black. He walks in bare feet. It's unbelievable. That's in 2.5 years. So did it take some time? Of course it did. But how long has he had this? for 15 years that bad, at least. So, you know, this is what I mean. We can't look at it as a miracle. We have to look at it like vitamin D. If we were deficient in vitamin D and we were starting to get rickets, we would certainly start taking our vitamin D consistently, wouldn't we? And same thing if we, you know, if we have a vitamin B deficiency or a vitamin C deficiency, we're going to get scurvy, we're going to be sick. We have to understand what this is. And once we do and we take it properly, so that young man would have to take 6 a day for, I don't know, Ron, I would say at least 2 weeks, right?
Oh, yeah. You know, and one thing I would like to say too, you know, when we take a medication, when the symptom goes away, the doctor takes us off the medication. We are talking nutrition that the body needs for life. So there is no taking it for 6 weeks and stopping. It's taking it for life. So your body for life has the ability to be the best it can for life, no matter how old that happens to be. And we're going to have a better life. We've got to get away from the thinking and the terminology of disease. That is, we're going to get in trouble if we start naming conditions, because then they're going to be all over us and we're not going to have a company left. And that's not good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's a really important thing that I would appreciate if you guys would address, because I don't know what we can and cannot say. I know we can't use the word diabetes, but we can use the word blood sugar.
Yes.
You know, it's really interesting, because if you take the word disease and slow it down, then you're okay, because it's dis-ease within the body. So we're having uneasiness in the body, and we've got to get rid of the congestion, the inflammation. And once that happens, then there's ease in the body and we won't have dis-ease, disease. And then you start putting labels on it. We got to get away from labels.
Okay, so the inflammation is fine, any label is not.
Correct.
Okay, well, that's good. That's very helpful.
Yes.
We've got another question here from Cheryl asking about her 91-year-old dad who had difficulty with his type 2 diabetes and blood pressure for about a year now. Too dizzy, faint, feels not even good enough to really do too much at all. Can't feel his feet.
Mhm.
This is not at all who he normally is. He wasn't on any medication at all until last summer. So I'm not exactly sure what she's asking. Probably how much should he take?
Yes. Well, he definitely needs Emulin regardless. I mean, he needs it, and it's very obvious because the inflammation is starting to take its toll on him. And this is what happens. You see, people are healthy. They think they're healthy. You are not healthy. If you don't have Emulin in your body, you are not healthy. You have low-grade inflammation that is maybe being handled at this point. But at some point, like the 91-year-old man, it gets out of control. So you want to control it now. And, you know, this is why we say even, you know, unborn babies, you know, the mother should be taking Emulin, because oftentimes it's the reason the baby's born predisposed with dis-ease and not feeling well. And, you know, right at the doctor with all of these challenges is because the inflammation has already affected that new little baby. This is so, so sad and so unnecessary. So he should be taking more of a saturated dose. I would think he should be taking 4 to 6 right away until he starts feeling better. Now, that might happen in 7 days. It might happen in 2 weeks, but he might have to take a saturated dose longer. Or he might have to go from 6 and then go down to 4, you know, and then go down to 3 and stay at 3 because he's older. I've always taken an extra one because I want to make sure that my bloodstream is saturated with Emulin regardless. And Emulin has a 48-hour half-life. So if you do not take it for a couple of days, you're going to hold a saturated amount, about 750 milligrams, for 48 hours. So you're usually okay for a couple of days. After that, by the 3rd day, it starts to leave your bloodstream and you'll start to feel effects of inflammation again.
And another thing, if someone has a history of diabetes or pre-diabetes and they're monitoring their blood sugars, you need to continue to do that while you're on Emulin, because you may have to start reducing the medication you're on. You need to work very closely with your physician, because what we've noticed is people actually do come off metformin At times, their insulin's reduced, so it's really, really important that you keep very close tabs on what's happening with your blood sugars, because you don't want to go into a crisis and start having really low blood sugars. And Emulin is not going to cause the low blood sugar, but the combination of the medication involved there will potentially put you at risk. So please monitor and work with your physician.
Yes.
That's great. And I see that, we're actually, the expiration is July 2019. I'm assuming that the new shipment is going to be in prior to that.
Yes, it should be in a couple of weeks, I would imagine, because it was, yeah, Ricky and Claudia. It was ordered immediately when they announced, even prior to when they announced that we would be bringing Emulin into Valentis, even pre-launch. So it's been in the process for quite some time.
Okay, great. So what would you suggest for, I'm thinking of Sonia, how many bottles should she buy to last her until we have it in stock so her son can get 6 a day?
Yes, well, probably I would say 3 or 4 bottles. I'd want to be protecting myself a little bit there, padding it a little bit.
And what if she still has it and some of it left in July? Let's say she still has some July 15th. Is that still going to be good to use?
Absolutely.
Oh, it is, because the expiry date is July, but it's going to, that's put there for a reason. It's really protection. It's a law, but often, most things, I was in the skincare industry and I had the same thing. I had to put an expiry date on my organic skincare, but it was good for even with skincare, which is really, really temperamental because of heat. This is a powdered product. So if this is kept in a cool, dark place, you'd probably be good for at least another year, maybe even 2 after the expiry date. So okay. I wouldn't worry about that at all at this point, because going into the fall, you'd be fine. It's just that it's a law. They have to have an expiry date. But once July hits, they will not be able to sell that product anyway, because it is against FDA to sell an expired product.
Yeah, I understood that, but then I just wanted you to express that. We have 2 people on my team who have children with Panda. Do you know what that is?
It was, someone asked me about it, or asked Dr. Ahrens about it recently. He answered a question for me on it.
Christina, are you willing to unmute yourself and talk with her about your daughter? Or Kathy Forrest?
Hi, Jana. I talked to you last night. We were talking over Messenger about Kylie. I sent you her video.
Yes.
Yes. So
God, she was just amazing.
Yeah, she has made so much improvement. And today, normally the day after she has her treatment, she wakes up and she is just nauseous and has headaches, and she's just absolutely miserable. And this morning she woke up, and I have to tell you, she came in and she was happy and smiley just like she was last night. And she didn't have any headache. She wasn't sick. She hasn't thrown up at all, which is, to me, the only thing that we've done different this month than we've done in the last year and a half with these treatments is adding the Emulin 2 weeks ago. And so, to me, this was a godsend for me. Like, honestly, I won't let her go without it.
No. Oh, my goodness. Well, we hear this all the time. We've been hearing this for 2.5 years. That's why we're so, we were frantic when we didn't know if we were going to be able to get it. And, I'm so grateful to Dave Jordan and Joyce. I'm just so grateful to them for seeing the light and knowing what this brings to human health.
We're getting a lot of background right now. I'm going to mute everybody again. And Jana, if you will unmute yourself, and also Christina, you'll need to unmute yourselves.
There we go.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Christina, you as well. And Kathy Forrest, if you're on and you have any specific questions about Panda, ask away. This is your opportunity.
Hi. My son is 22, almost 23, and has pandas. And we have not been doing the IV therapy. So from what I'm understanding, you're saying I need to start him with about 6 tablets a day.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And I would spread those out. I wouldn't give them to him all at once. You know, I would start him out with 1 or 2 in the morning. You might even want to space them a little bit. And, you know, maybe 2 in the afternoon and then 2 at dinner time, kind of like that.
Okay.
If he's able to take 2 at a time and that's not a problem, then that's great. But yeah,
Okay.
he would probably need 6 a day. And you might see a difference in him, you know, in a week or 5 days, or because once your bloodstream is saturated, and that usually takes 3 to 5 days, people start to see changes. So just, you know, be observant of him, and I think you're going to be quite surprised. I really do.
I'm so thankful to have something that is possibly going to really make a difference in his life.
Yes.
Well, I need to have him take these with food.
The advantage taking it with food is you lessen the calories in the meal about 1/3. So if that's not an issue for him, then I wouldn't worry about it, but you don't have to take it with food.
Okay. Thank you
Kathy.
so much. I think
Jana, can I say something to Kathy?
Yes.
Kathy, Kylie is 11, and so she only weighs like 80 pounds. And you know, I don't know how your son's done with different types of supplements and medicine, but Kylie has always been super sensitive to everything we've tried her on. So she has to take a lot smaller of a dose of everything that we've ever tried. So for the first, I think it was 7 or 8 days, I only gave her 1 a day. And then we slowly increased for 4 days to like 2. And then we just got, like, I think we're on day 3 of doing 3 a day with her at her weight. And I mean, it has made all the world of difference. The dilating of her pupils are gone. Her pupils are no longer dilated. She's not getting frustrated. She did have a small meltdown before I went to 3 a day, but it lasted like 10 minutes as opposed to an hour and a half to 2 hours that we've seen prior to that. So, Kathy, I know how you feel with pandas. Like, it is probably the hardest thing to see your child go through and to see them hurting and you not be able to stop. And so to see her come in and do her happy dance that she did last night and get to share that with all of you guys is the most amazing thing, to be able to go and share this and see what it's doing for this little girl's life.
She was so adorable. I couldn't believe it.
I think a lot of the difference with Johnny's age, because he was about 14 when he got it, and we searched for years trying to find out what was wrong with him, and he was extremely suicidal.
Oh my.
Yes, Kylie's done that too. We've had to hospitalize her twice.
He's no longer suicidal now, thank God.
Oh,
But no one should have to go through that.
No. No.
And so all the wrinkles that I've gotten in the last few years, this will help with that too.
It will.
And having a sense of humor helps us. But I can guarantee you your son will have some positive benefit from this. And it was like, my son had been on it for 2.5 years before things went sideways, and it was ugly. It was really ugly. And the behaviors were, you know, in any other situation, he would have been hauled off to hospital and probably medicated with a whole bunch of other medications. But because he was with my family, that didn't happen. 4 days, and I was getting text messages to say he's behaved, or his behavior has changed. The happy boy is back. The anxiety is gone. I mean, this is a kid that could hear a dog barking so far off in the distance, and it would make him jump over a couch and climb the wall. He was terrified. And And we know that or anxiety, there is an inflammatory piece to anxiety, and if we can reduce anxiety, we can, or reduce inflammation, we can reduce the anxiety, and there'll be some relief.
That's awesome. Awesome to hear. I hate to call this to a close, but unfortunately, we are dictated by time. Jana is in our Love Unleashed team group, and Jana, if you wanted to invite Ron and Fiddlesticks, I'm so bad with names. Eileen, if you want to invite them into the group, that would be great. So if anybody has questions, I'd love it if you would ask and answer the questions inside the group, because we would all learn in the process. And for right now, for the Love Unleashed team, we are supposed to be on Karen's group, Karen's team call. And shoot, I just had it in front of me, the phone number, and just lost it. Here it is, 712-432-0075. Everybody's welcome, of course. And the code is 276751. So we all need to switch over and go to that call. And I want to thank you so much, Jana and Eileen and Ron. I think it's Ron, right?
Yes.
So much for you guys coming and sharing with us we're just so appreciative. I'm so excited. I mean, I am like bucking tears right now myself, just knowing how much we are going to be able to make such a huge impact. And I just say, thank you, Lord, so much that I am at this company, because I just think we are the place to be. We are going to have such a positive impact on everybody's lives going forward, more than we have in the past, which is really exciting. So thank you so much for all of you coming and sharing with us. We really appreciate it. And for anybody whose question didn't get answered, just please ask it inside of our group and tag Jana, and we'll all watch. Is that good for everybody?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. Good night, everybody. God bless you all.